Hi there, everybody, and welcome to another session in the Philanthropy Mastermind series, or specifically of our How to Raise show. Really glad you could join us for this live episode if you're here live. And if you're watching this as a recording, hello to you as well. Before we begin today, I want to thank our sponsor, Evertrue Studios, a division of Evertrue, the global leader in donor engagement and fundraising intelligence, helping nonprofits find, engage, and inspire their supporters. Many of you already know DonorSearch, of course, which has supported this series for over a decade. And at the end of 2025, DonorSearch became a part of the Evertrue family of companies. And we're excited to continue and expand this work together through Evertrue Studios. Now, we're not going to be talking about Evertrue or DonorSearch for that matter today, unless our guest happens to mention them for some reason. That's, of course, entirely up to him. But if you'd like to learn more about that, and I hope you do, because they do great work, please check out the links in the chat. Jack will place them there, or you can capture the QR code you'll see as we exit, just like you saw them at the beginning, or you can fill out the survey, which I hope you'll do, and there's a place where you can also ask for information. And, of course, you can always visit the DonorSearch.net and Evertrue.com sites. Now, I want to make sure that you know what this is all a part of, because we have a little bit of a difference today. Once again, this is a live program, and I really thank Judy Ann right now I'm seeing, and Ian and all the others who are already saying hello in the chat. It's a wonderful way for you to interact with really one of the top people in the field today who has a lot to say, and he's also very much an interactive person. So you'll be, hello Tiara, you'll be, have this opportunity, hi there Casey, to interact with him probably throughout, but definitely at the end of his presentation. So really take advantage of that today. If you're here with us live, be a part of the conversation. And of course, it's a way to get to know one another there as well. Now, before I introduce today's program, I want to acknowledge the last minute change. Paul Dunn, who was originally scheduled to present today, is unable to join us. We just learned this morning due to a sudden health issue. We are sure he will be fine, but he can't be with us today. We wish Paul a full and speedy recovery, and we look forward to welcoming him back in the future. But we are so grateful. I'm so grateful personally to have a friend of the industry, but also a personal friend, Armando Zumaya, agreeing to step in on extremely short notice, just hours really, to share his experience with us, and he has plenty of it. Armando is the founder and executive director of Somos El Poder, the first Latinx fundraising institute in the U.S. If you don't know about it, we're going to place a link in the chat to that. You do want to know about his work. It's really extraordinary stuff. But he also brings 4 decades before that of experience in fundraising, development leadership, prospecting, major gifts. So over the course of his career, he's held major gift, leadership gift, and senior development roles at a whole bunch of places, as well as contributing to campaigns of more than $1 billion at places like Cornell and Cal Berkeley. So lots to tell you. But if I spent all the time telling you about him, you'd never hear from him. So I'm not going to tell you about his whole bio. We'll make sure that there's a link in the chat to that as well. Today's program, however, has not changed, and it's a perfect fit for Armando because he knows major gifts probably better than just about anybody on the planet. The topic, of course, is major gifts, identifying the yes you're after. So we're going to be tackling it just as, not in the same way that Paul would have done, but of course the same subject matter. So don't go away and make sure you participate through the chat. Please join me in welcoming my friend, Armando Zumaya.
Gracias, Jay. It's good to see you again, bro. I always called him boss because he was my boss for a while. So it's hard not to say, hey, boss. You know, it's crazy, right? But I'm so glad to be here and glad to be invited and to be part of this, guys. Let me pull up my presentation real quick. And, Jay did the intro for me, so we will skip that. But I want you to understand a couple things. One, I love fundraising. I always have, always will. People shy away from it and are scared of it, and I don't understand that. So let's, in this challenging time for our country, understand that fundraising is the power of people to do good. With so much negativity and so much fear, we need to use fundraising to save our communities, to help people, to help the disadvantaged, to help the persecuted in this time. And let's see our own strength. And for our Canadian friends, we appreciate your help as well. I've seen a whole bunch of homies from up north. So what we're going to talk about is individual major giving. Now, I come from two different lenses on major giving. One is, I was raised in the peace movement, knocking on doors with a clipboard back when I had hair and beads. And I was cool, as my daughter says, back when you were cool. So I was like, yeah, I'm still cool. She's like, yeah, sure. So I would love to give you guys sort of both perspectives, which is grassroots. And I also was lucky enough to work at Cornell University on the first $1 billion campaign in history back in the day, in the 90s. So I got to see, grassroots fundraising, and I got to see 200 development officers, a massive machine. So what I do is sort of a mix of both. I'm very focused on small, medium nonprofits. That's my world. My institute at Somos al Poder. If you're a Latino fundraiser or you work for a Latino serving organization, you should join us. And I also do a little bit of consulting stuff. Okay. Let's click slide here. So I added in a couple of slides, or one slide, about barriers to major giving, because 95% of organizations do not have a major giving program. This is about 10-year-old stat. Maybe it's changed. And we're going to go over some of the other categories that were mentioned in the description. They're my take on it. And I'm sorry about Mr. Dunna, what happened. I hope everything is going to be okay. I've had to cancel at the last second for crazy, awful stuff like that too. So I'm glad I could be here to help out. All right. Hi from South Africa. That's cray, man. That's something else. I just saw that one. Okay, so let's talk about my personal mentor when I was a young man was a guy named Barlow Ware. I love to say his name. He's in heaven. He was the first man in American history to raise $1 million campaign for Cornell in 1948. And Barlow is a great guy. He drank a lot of martinis, so his voice was like this. So he always had great quotes for me. And one of them was, don't forget you're giving your donors a gift on gift of giving. Sounds cheesy, sounds corny, but this is the core of personal strength to do major giving, okay? One, you have to remember the people you're doing it for, okay? You have to live in that. Secondly, you have to know you're doing something nice. When you give somebody with plenty of resources a chance to give their money and have it do beautiful things, you're giving them a gift. You're not bothering them. You're not hunting them. You're not twisting their arm. There's so much negativity about fundraising out there. I always like to, if you ever look at Law and Order, the TV show, like Dung Dung, Law and Order. I think they have that in Canada. I don't think they have that in South Africa. I'd be surprised. There's 4 fundraisers in Law and Order. One actually looks like Jay, by the way, and he's crazy. 2 are crazy and 2 are fraudsters. There's no good fundraiser in Law and Order. We don't get a good rap, right? So there's a lot of negativity around fundraising, but when it comes down to it, it's a high calling, and we're doing beautiful things, okay? Now, when it comes to fundraising, major gifts fundraising, why don't most organizations do major gifts fundraising? Right? Because one, most organizations are highly dependent on foundations or government grants. And these days, that's a very dangerous place to be. We're going to lose many organizations in this country. Oh, okay. Keshni says they do have a Law and Order. It's classic. So many organizations are going to close because they have not made the transition to diversifying their fundraising and not depending solely on, grants. And I would say 90% of board members out there, when you say fundraising, they go, oh, grant writing. They don't think individual major gifts fundraising. Now, maybe you work for larger institutions where this is not a problem, but it's widely misunderstood what major giving is, right? It doesn't mean you can just go call somebody up and say, hey, Bill Gates, can you give me a check? Great, thank you. Have a good day. Actually, a lot of people think major giving is. You're just asking people for money. And it sounds ridiculous, people in the profession, but there is a huge chasm between our profession and the rest of the world. One, because our profession is silent, and two, because there's tremendous amounts of misinformation about our profession. Right? So we need realistic expectations. When we're talking to a board, we're starting a major gifts program. This is not going to be a money spigot where money, oh, hey, that just happens magically, right? Bouncing down my list here, there's a thing I call the 1-year rule. Any job I've ever taken, where the organization is not in good shape, it has a bad reputation, and they want me to start a major giving program, 1 year in, no matter how much they know, it's a challenging job. In 1 year in, the board always goes, where's our money? I want the millions. People lose track of what you're doing. So you need to set realistic expectations. You need to have a board that really gets what you're doing and is doing it with you. I cannot underline that enough. The number one killer of successful major gifts programs is an ignorant board. Okay. I've been let go from jobs where I was super successful, where the board did not understand the parameters of success. They did not understand, hey, this guy's raised $3 million. Compared historically, that's fantastic. Not the 20 million we wanted, but 3 million's awesome, for example. Also, you may not be able to do major gifts because your program's too new. It's too convoluted, difficult to explain. It may be very, focused on foundations. Like a lot of educational research is done by foundations. It's hard to sell as a major giving program, right? And so you've got to look at also your organization's reputation. Did the last CEO embezzle a ton of money? Do you guys have any internal conflicts? If there might be something that says, you're gonna have to wait 5 years before all this goes away to see you start a major giving program, because your reputation matters, okay? And do you have staff focus? They can't say, hey, let's get somebody's name here. Some of our attendees here. Ooh, I like Alora. That's a pretty name. Hey, Alora, you're doing the gala, you're doing annual giving, and now you're doing major giving. Okay, it doesn't work that way, right? You need somebody, and also grant writing is not major giving. The personalities, as Jay will tell you, are very different. Okay, grant writing is very detail-focused, intense, process-laden work. Major gifts jerks like me, we're egotistic maniacs that love to kick open doors and start relationships. Very different people, okay? Can someone make the transition? I've seen it, but it's not common. All right. Let's see here. Also, finally, and this sounds crazy to say to your board, you have to allow for error. You have to allow for learning, okay? Because starting a major gifts program, you're running through a dark room because you don't know a lot yet. You don't know what the average gift's going to be. You don't know if your donor model is going to work. So you're going to fall down a couple of times. It's not going to be perfect. Everything, here's all the money. Sometimes it's like that, but usually it's not. So your board has to say, okay, when Angie makes a mistake, we know she's learning. And that's normal. Okay, not let's fire her, We'll hire somebody who really hustles. Happens all the time. So hidden barriers are very important when you're approaching major giving. Having a consultant come in and have a frank conversation with your board about major giving is super, super important. Now, does this resonate with anybody? Please put it in the chat, or, I don't know if we unmute Jack or Jay, how we take questions or input, but I'm happy to take questions while I'm doing the presentation, guys. If you want to put it in the chat, if that feels better for you. I guess that's more easily structured, but we haven't talked about this yet. All right, so yeah, let's do the chat. So who has encountered hidden barriers in your building a major gifts program? Just raise your hand or describe it in 4 or 5 words or a sentence. Let me know. Let's start there. or not. I move pretty quickly, people. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. Monica, thank you. Thank you, Andrea. Yep. Andrea's exactly talking about it. All right. Liza is absolutely hitting a board that doesn't understand. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, right on, guys. So, okay, cool. All right. So I'm not, it's funny. Someone's cutting a tree right next to my window of all the times to do that. Sorry, Jay, I didn't anticipate that one. We don't hear it. Good. Noise canceling has improved tremendously. So uh, this is an important process of major giving, is getting your board on board. Okay. Absolutely super important. Now, sorry, this is a little shabbily put in here, but I had an hour to put this together. This is major giving. If you could tattoo this on every one of your board members' arms, I would do it. Okay. And this is what we're going to talk about to some extent today. We're going to talk about it, but in different emphasis. Each of these could be a class unto themselves, right? So the common board or executive director or CEO perception of fundraising is that Angie asks people for money. They go right to solicitation and say, why didn't Angie ask her for money? She met a prospect. Why didn't you ask her for money? Crazy, right? Only when you take those people on a first visit with you will they realize, wow, it would have been inappropriate to ask for money. That would have been crazy. So this is really essential, is that people understand identification, prospect research, identifying the people who are most likely to care about what you're doing. 2, qualification or discovery call, as some universities call it. When you sit down with people and you tell them what you're doing, you educate them, hopefully well, and then you have a fork in the road where they decide, yes, I care about this. No, I don't care about this. Okay. Cultivation, where we could have literally, I have 2 classes on this where we teach how to cultivate people, how to move them emotionally, how to take them from intellectually being interested to feeling your work. Okay. Now, if you do your prospect research right, you should already be halfway there. Half of fundraising is good prospect research. The vast majority of nonprofits don't do any prospect research. Okay. Or don't know that it's urgent and vital. It's often seen as a luxury. Universities, hospitals, big art museums rely on it. And then finally, solicitation, asking for money, which is actually, if you do these cycles, pretty simple. And then finalmente, I break into Spanish sometimes. Finally, stewardship. How do you take care of people after they ask? This is where a lot of organizations drop the ball. Okay. All right. So I wish you could tattoo that on somebody's arm, but you can't. They won't hold still, right? Or I'm sure it'll break some law or something. So when you think about starting a major gifts program, first question is, who cares about this work? Who feels this work? Who would understand this work, right? So you have to be innovative in your prospect development of who might care about this work. Many years ago, I worked at Playworks. Playworks puts coaches on elementary school playgrounds so kids play. Sounds weird, but kids these days in elementary schools look at their beachy phones, bully each other, gossip. They don't play. It's terrible, right? And so we want kids to play. And so we asked ourselves, who absolutely would understand this work? So we were like, maybe parents, educators. Yes and yes. And then we got some data that showed we reduced bullying on elementary school campuses 90%. So we can say pretty close we eliminated bullying. So then we asked ourselves, who cares about bullying? Who has an experience of bullying when they're in elementary school? And then we asked ourselves, gay people. when you're different, when you're a gay woman or little girl or little boy on an elementary school, you're bullied, right? You're different. So we tested it. I had my researcher pull up 5 of the top gay women philanthropists in the country. And I went to them and say, we have a program that reduces bullying on elementary schools 90%. 5 calls. I got 5 appointments because these people had lived this. They understood it viscerally. It wasn't some intellectually thing they'd seen on 60 Minutes. They'd lived it. So who cares about your work? If you don't have alumni grateful patients, you have an automatic constituency, but you still have to look for that first point. The age of your organization's been around a long time. It's well thought of. There's no reason you shouldn't start a major giving program. If you're brand new and your work is a little hard to understand, that's different. Okay, so you have to think about that. Are your programs successful? Do you have the data to show your programs work? Right, whatever that is, big or small. Okay. Yeah, okay. Casey is talking about lack of stewardship. Also, too, with staff turnover, stewardship's even more important. Staffing. Do you have a major gift specialist, a person who's trained in major giving to do this work? If you don't, get them, okay? And a little TV commercial. If you're a Latino fundraiser or you work for a Latino-focused nonprofit, you can join my institute and get major gifts training. TV commercial over. Okay. All right. Gloria wrote a long question I will read in a bit. Hold on a second. Finally, do you have the time to do this work? Okay. So you need a clear timeline that you tell people. I believe in short cycle fundraising for major gifts, which is 9 months. That's crazy. 2 years, 3 years is a university cycle. Cycle means that cycle I showed you that lasts 2 to 3 years to make happen. That's a university cycle for fundraising. I've done that in 9 months. It's not easy, but I've done it. And that's for small, medium nonprofits. So there's different philosophies around that, guys. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. All right. Let me read. Okay. So fundraising your organization culture is super important. Absolutely. So successes in early stages of major gifts program is that you start relationships. Okay, so you can create an Excel report based around that chart I showed you, color coded, that you share with your board. Identification, qualification, and then you put the prospects' names on the left side, and then you ask the board for help in moving them down the process. So this is a way to protect your job and to protect the program. So if it says Jay Frost, we see that we identified him, we had a qualification conversation with him, but we haven't got him to a cultivation event yet. And this is where you ask your board, who knows Jay? Can you help? Because I've called him, but maybe if you email him or you see him at the market, you can help me. This is where you get your board to understand it's a cycle and they take ownership and activity in the program. And they can't say, oh, Angie hasn't raised all the money. You can say, no, she's working. See, she's working all these appointments. It's visual. Okay, so good question. Thank you. I hope that makes sense. If I had had more time, I would have put one of these charts in this presentation for you. No, part of your major gifts plan is prospect research. It is the essential part. You don't do major gifts without prospect research. If your boss says, oh, we can't afford that, then you can't do major giving. I don't care what your knowledge of your donor base already is. There's always more out there that you don't know about because you don't have prospect research, okay? And your list has to be large to start a major giving program. The minimal list to start a major giving program is 300 names. Researched names, right? That's what I use for small, medium nonprofits. Maybe it's bigger for a big nonprofit. Also, too, you want to know what's a major gift for your program. Maybe it's 1,000, maybe it's 50,000, right? It's all relative. And also, too, the term major gifts for boards, for EDs and CEOs freaks them out. They think, oh my gosh, millions. No, it's all relevant. It's all relative, I should say, for your organization. Don't let that term freak you out. Okay. Anyone can do major gifts. Yeah, I've had organizations with one employee raise major gifts. Of course, the major gifts are $5,000, but for them, that's a major gift. And also, too, are you going to geographically center this work? If you're a national organization, that may be challenging. You may say, okay, New York and Los Angeles is where we're going to do our major gifts work geographically. You may approach everyone across the country, but where you're going to do live events and live meetings is got to be centered down on a geography. Okay. The final part about major gifts plans is you know your prospects, you know your budgets. Now you need a 12-month and a 24-month timeline around the cycle of fundraising. So you need to count out how long it's going to take you to make those steps. Okay. You need to look at what are our cultivation steps every year? Are they virtual events? Are they tours? Are they mailings? What are they? And how varied are they? And then map them out. You see your prospects and you want to put them through in qualification and engagement. It's like herding cats, okay? Not sheep, cats. And you want to help move them through the process till they get closer and closer to you. Now, some may peel off because they're not interested, and that's okay, because we're about building relationships, not transactions. Okay? All right. Hold on, I got a question, don't I? No. Liza asks if a $5,000 is a shorter timeline. It depends on the person. Okay. I've had first-time meetings where they give me $100,000 a check, and that's a little tiny gift. Now that can be a go-away gift, or that can be a starter gift. You have to determine it by the relationship you're working on. But for a lot of people with small organizations in small towns, $5,000, that's a major gift for them. That takes a while to get that. Okay, that's not, so it's all relative based upon, if you're at Cornell or, Guelph University in Canada, $5,000 is a small gift. Okay, it's a small gift. And so that's not, shouldn't take very long to get that. Okay, cool. Now with your strategic plan, you have to include your program team. You want them to understand the plan to be supportive of your work, and you want them to help. The biggest myth in fundraising is that we hire Jay Frost and, fundraising's done. He's going to do it. We'll just sit here and count the checks. Nonsense. Healthy organizations have everyone pulling on the oar, okay? Everyone is active in fundraising. People hate to hear that. Too bad. If you're an ED or a CEO that doesn't like fundraising, you're like a fish that hates swimming, okay? Guess what? Everyone does it. It's job one. Especially these days with attacks on our sector, fundraising's job one. Okay, Emily's asking, do you approach organizational volunteering differently from major gift qualification consideration? Yes, I do, excuse my term, threaten people with volunteering to get a major gift. I do tell, hey, you can volunteer and give a major gift. People are like, oh, I'll do a major gift. Okay. So, all right. I can't answer any question. I got to keep moving, but I'll come back to you, Hannah. Okay. Although this is relevant to the slide. The best way to get a program team in is to tell them, I'm working for you. I want to bring you more resources, and I need you to be part of this because you're going to be selling this to our donors. I'm going to be putting you in front of people who can make our lives a lot easier. So I need you to be ready to see the large program, okay? If you're a larger nonprofit and that's not possible, like a university, that's okay. But this is my bias towards small, medium organizations, so forgive me, okay? And higher ed is definitely challenging. Yes, I know that, guys. Okay, defining leadership roles, getting approval and sign off from your leadership. So a lot of this isn't relevant to major gifts at universities because you guys already have that program, that mechanism in place. All right. Now, this is relevant to universities, which is what's your bias? When it comes to prospecting our communities, I can't say for Canada, but certainly for the US, we walk by a lot of major gifts prospects. There's a lot of bias in what we're doing in fundraising. And a lot of, I won't say racism, but people miss people of color. They miss women. They miss Muslims. They miss gay people. A lot in fundraising. I had a prospect when I was at the Mexican Museum who gave me $1,000,001, gave me a check for $1,000,001. New guy, never given before. He went to one of the biggest schools on the West Coast. And I actually knew the fundraising and prospect research team there in Major Gifts. So I asked him very casually. I was over there giving a presentation for AFP. And I said, have you seen this guy before? He's an alumni of yours. And the researcher, who was not a Latina, saw him and went, oh yeah, that's like a little company he has. She saw his face, his brown face, his Mexican name, and said, oh yeah. He'd sold his company to Google. I found this for $450 million. Right. And so, but she had a bias in her that said, that's not a prospect. So watch out for that, because we're leaving a lot of money on the table in this country right now. Okay. Keshni's asking about limited history, first-time major donor. That's when you paint a castle in the sky, Keshni. Here's what could be. This is the possibilities of our work. That's what you sell. You don't sell what's happened in the past. You sell what's the possibilities for the future. Okay. Also, too, just to going back to the silos and major giving, when I was at Cornell, we raised $1.5 billion. After the campaign, we had not done our work to help the professors, help the academics understand our work. They thought there was a safe with $1 billion, and they could just go rate it for their programs. And they were mad that they couldn't do that. So that they began to fire us. So they came up with a plan to let go of 35% of the fundraising staff, right? And we fought it and fought it and fought it till eventually it was a much smaller amount. But the ignorance of them was staggering toward fundraising. So we need to still do education for academics and for larger institutions, because we want to protect our work and our jobs. Okay? All right. So enough on this. Building the right relationships. You want to build innovative engagement, okay? And look at the resources your organization has. What do you have that other organizations can't do, or other institutions? What experience can you give these people? Because we're talking, people are bombarded these days. It's a very jaded atmosphere. What are you going to do that's going to make somebody go, I got to do that? That's incredible. I want to be part of that. Okay. So understand from a very innovative perspective, you know, what do we have? What major issues can you answer of the day? Because, you know, some of the best advertising for giving is on TV, on computers. What's going on? Climate change, racial injustice, in journalism. What issues can you grab a surfboard on and jump on that wave and go, we're part of the solution, okay? And finally, who deeply feels these issues, like I said to you earlier, okay? I'll give you a couple of quick examples. When I was at the San Francisco Opera, we gave a tour for these pretty wealthy people. We do them all the time with a house, and the house is closed. There's nobody there. You know, it's empty, this opera house. And I saw these very, you know, wealthy people. Oh my God, can I get on the stage? They acted like little kids. And they were on the stage going, look, I'm on the stage, everybody. And I was like, interesting. So it came to my brain is, let's do an event on the stage, on a set of the opera, right? Sounds childish almost, right? People went crazy for it. So we created an opera experience using the side stage, using displays of our different programs, And then we had dinner, candlelight dinner on the stage, on a set of the opera. And people to this day, I understand, and you have to give a minimum gift to be invited to that. So now it's a thing that people look forward to every year. But that's an example of me using that stage to raise money. When I was at the Mexican Museum, we did a vault tour. Now, our vault was hysterical. It was a 2-room museum. It was tiny, 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 right? You'd laugh at it. It was so small. And the vault was just another room with really nice shelves that moved around. It wasn't what art historians would call a vault. They would giggle and laugh at that. But when we created this sense of exclusivity, we did this one time, which is not really true, limited vault tour. And there's a limited amount of people who can come see this, right? So we put this out. We made a beautiful physical invitation. It was plexiglass invitation. And sent it to prospected list of prospects. People went crazy. Every rich Latino in the Bay Area was lined up around the block in the heat to get into this tour. Highly successful. All right. Andale. You guys try to keep your questions a little shorter, okay? I mean, so Mary, I'm going to get back to this, but I got to look at my time. Holy heck. So engagement, there's all sorts of engagement methods, and you have to become creative with getting people meetings, small events, virtual events. I even take people to protests, letters, unveilings. There's so many more types of engagement methods you can create, but always have a suite of them. Always have several, 3 or 4 going at the same time, so you can catch people in a broader net from your prospect list, okay? I can't go into specifics in this presentation because there's not enough time. I cannot tell you how important innovation is crucial these days. It's okay to take a risk. Think of something different. Think of something innovative. Think of something fun, but it's not about the fun, because we have these events where it's all fun and people don't give. They think they're going there to have a good time. You're not going there to have a good time. You're going there to learn and give, okay? So we need to get over a lot of jade and bored donors. And now these days, a lot of people who are overly virtual. That's what I call it. They want everything on their damn laptop. What can you do that will get them, to come out in the sunshine and come to something real? All right. Okay. It looks like Jessica answered my question for me. Thanks, Jessica. It's all right. I need to write you a check now. Okay, let's see here. So I'm going to try to get to the questions at the end. So remember to tell your program, even your academics, engagement is everyone's job. So if you need to take somebody to come see your program at a university, those people need to be prepared and not blow it. I've had academics completely blow a tour with a donor because they weren't prepared properly or they had misconceptions. You want to create a draft cultivation cycle that's 12 months, okay? And you work on I sit down with the program team and say, listen, this is what our cultivation cycle is going to look like, okay? What do you guys think? Is this feasible? So when I did that at the opera and I said that stage, a whole bunch of the staff said, oh, the union will never say yes to you. I didn't know that. But I learned that from the program folks. So I went to the union and they said yes. But that's something you get out all the bugaboos and errors and potential hangups in a big discussion with your program team. And then you assign key roles and deadlines. If you can do that, if you have to do it all yourself, okay. But if you can get some help on these things, it's pretty wonderful, okay? Let's click here. Okay, so for the first donor meeting, so we're going to go over this a little bit. Always do your research. I prefer a business card. I have a little trick. I have a business card that's heavy cardstock. Heavy cardstock, people don't throw away. People keep it, and they like it, and it's significant. But it's a reminder of you to them. So eye contact, super important. And your whole job in the first donor meeting is to educate them and to qualify them. So you want to tell them about your work and then ask them, are you interested? Do you want to learn more or not? If they disqualify, don't be upset. That's okay. Okay. Right. You want to have key questions. I'm going to give you some qualification questions in a few seconds, but have the next steps prepared. So if they're like, wow, this is really interesting, here's what I'd like to suggest we do next. Come visit my executive director, performance, or whatever. You know, you have the next step in your pocket. I prefer to have a few of them. In case they say, oh, I'm going on vacation to France that month. Well, what about next month? Oh, okay. Right. But one of the best things you can do at a first meeting is set up how you're going to engage them in the qualification conversation. It's a lot easier to do than you'd think. When you qualify somebody and they're interested, you can ask them, what are the next experiences you'd like to have? Okay, so I'll show you. So there's hard qualifications and soft qualifications. A hard qual is a question that's very direct, and it depends on the personality of the person. It depends on the situation. A lot of guys on Wall Street, for example, they want hard qual. Get to the point. Come on, tell me what you want. So that's a hard qualification, right? So here's an example of hard qualification question. We would love to eventually have you become a major supporter. What steps and experiences would you like to have to make that happen? All right. My old boss, bless her, at Cornell, Inga Reichenbach, she used to talk about hard qualifier. She would look at this rich guy and go, I assign my staff based on the presumption that you're going to make a major gift. Am I correct in that assumption? That is like wham, right? So every bit of work I did with that guy was leading toward a major gift. But that was like, are we playing or not? So there's many other soft qualifications. But here's the one. I feel like you'd like to know more about it, if that's correct. If you'd be interested in sitting on a rehearsal, you know, for example, or would you be interested in having, you know, so you can do softer qualifications. There's a whole list of questions you can ask people to move them forward. And if they say, no, I'm not really into that, I like the ballet, you'd be okay, have a great day. Okay. So that's qualifications. Now, like I said, map it and get agreement. I've literally sat down with prospects and said, so what are the key points I want to attend the rehearsal. I want to meet the ED. I want to see the budget, and I'd love to talk to one of your board members. Okay, I'll schedule that with you. So you know exactly the steps to move people forward. And finally, I always look people eye to eye in major gifts meetings, first qualification meetings, and I said, my job is to make sure that you're able to do something powerful with your support that you feel great about, that serves the institution, but also you know you have a gift that's been given to you, a philanthropy. Sounds cheesy. People love it. Okay. And and live appointments, always push for them. You can make jokes to get them. It's superior to Zoom. Okay, Zoom's good, live's better. Okay, you may disagree with that. Okay. Just one point, a big impediment to major giving is galas. They're parasitic. You cannot have a person do a gala and do major giving at the same time, okay? There are some appropriate times for galas, but the annual gala sucks up too much time and resources to really start most major giving programs. And one of the hardest things to do is to convert a gala donor into a major gifts donor, okay? And I've been a fundraiser for 41 years, and I've done it twice. Finally, I want to answer some questions. I'm going to go through these next slides at a good pace. When do we ask is a difficult, it goes person by person, okay? When people have been through enough cultivation, you can always ask people too. You can always say, hey, you came to our event, you saw the tour. I would really like to ask for your support. Do you feel like this is a good time to do that? Right? And so that's one way to honor people. And I've had people say, you know, it isn't. My company's going public. Can you come back in 6 months? And when you do that and you honor them, they give. Okay. Sometimes they're putting you off. Most times they're not. Okay. And when you ask somebody for money, you always want to prepare the people you're going with. You want to know the amount you're asking for, and you want to be able to, respond to that. Now, there's all sorts of ways of asking for money. There's the old way. What I was trained in was to do 7 yeses. Yes, do you agree that the university needs more support? Yes, do you agree? To get yeses before you ask for money, it's very cumbersome. I ask for people, why have you given in the past? And they tell you what you need to know. And I recap it to them. If you've gone through this cycle, asking is easy. And so it's very direct. So you can ask. There's all sorts of different types of asks you can make in terms of solicitation methods. But asking them why they think this program is important is the first thing. Oh, I think public health is really important. So as you say, public health is really important. We need to support it right now. So that's why I want you, Jay, to consider a gift for $100,000 today. And then there's 2 types of asks. A ranged ask. A ranged ask is where you don't know what they could give. You have some idea. A pegged ask is where you know the amount. So I just did an amount because we did a research and we know Jay gives away $100,000 as a normal gift. If we don't know, we're going to say, Jay, would you consider a gift between $90,000 and $125,000 today? You always shoot the range high when you ask, okay? All right. And finally, when you're with somebody else, you're a dean or your chair or whatever, and you're making the ask, you both shut up after the ask. You let it drop. It's very tempting to say something. I've had many non-development staff apologize. Don't do that. It'll destroy the ask, right? And then you wait for them to respond. And then you can say, okay, maybe 100,000 is a lot today. Would you consider that in a 2-piece pledge? Would you consider that, pay that over a year? Then you can talk about that. And if they say no, always leave the door open with them. Always leave a possibility of them giving in the future because you don't know. It doesn't hurt. Okay? All right. All right. So, that was a good clip, huh, guys?
That was a lot, but it's hard to cram 41 years into 60 minutes. Armando, for the questions, if you could bring down the slides so we can see you, I'd love that. And as we're giving people a chance to maybe enter another couple of short questions, I know those questions were really good, but they were also somewhat long. As Armando is reading those and maybe a couple of other folks enter things, I want to just let everybody know a couple of items. First, that there is a post-event survey. It won't take you any more than 30 seconds to fill this thing out. It really helps because then we will know what you want to see and hear in the future. So, sure, tell us how you felt about Armando, which I'm sure is a great rating. But also let us know what you'd like to see later. And if you want, you can also request information about our sponsor. All of that's there. 30 seconds. I promise it'll be easy, and it's very helpful to us. So thank you. Second, keep an eye on your inbox. There's going to be a link to a recording of this session. And Armando, I don't know if you're willing to share the slide deck, but if you are, that's something else we can share with folks. Okay.
Yeah, no. I want to answer a few more questions if I can.
Absolutely. Just a last thing before you do, and that's that if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and Jack will put that in the links in the chat right now, that will enable you to see this recording and also to share it with others. So anyway, jump right ahead, Armando.
Okay, so I put the presentation in the chat, folks.
Oh, great. Thank you.
To make Jay's, boy, I'm fast these days, yeah. To make Jay's life a little easier and Jack's life a little easier. But yeah, Mary answered that one question I was going to answer. Jessica answered it. How do you deal? Let's see, we got another one here. Okay. With a board member who won't share the relationship. Yeah, it's tough. I've generally held people to hold the relationships, but they can share them. They can take somebody else on the meeting with them next time and broaden the relationship. And you have to be very upfront. You can't be sneaky about it. So if Jay holds a relationship and Jack's the major gifts officer, the new one, I'm going to say, Jay, I want to make sure and broaden the relationship in case you get, win the Nobel Peace Prize and go off to an island in Bali. I don't like hit by a bus. It's too scary. something happens to you, you run off with J-Lo or something in your life. We need duplicity in our relationships. Okay. We need repetitiveness. So I want you to take Jack on your next lunch with him so he knows Jack. So I tell people that right up front. Okay. For example, oh, Jane, you knew Inga. Yeah. She's she's a wonderful, wonderful woman. When I was a young man, I worked for her at Cornell in the 90s. She terrified me. She was very scary, very, way up there. Only many years later, when she'd retired, I learned she liked me a lot because I was kind of excuse my language, smart ass punk in my younger years. And she liked it. She couldn't say that. Yeah. Well, Jane, real quick, she would call you. It's just 220 development officers. She would call you she called you to her office. That was scary. And she would call you and say, you pick up the phone, you'd be like, hello? Hello? And then it'd be with seconds and be like, this is Inga. You'd be like, oh, it's pretty scary. But she's a sweetheart. She's a brilliant, brilliant woman. Anyway, my Inga story. Any other questions, guys?
I think that we had a couple in the Q&A, but you may have tackled those, Armando.
May have jumped across. Okay, well, no, I think your slides did not drop. I think they did. You got them, Jay, right?
I think Jack has them. Jack, you can confirm that. And the link is there. But what we will do, folks, is that if you're here with us live, you'll be receiving an email. That email will have a link to the slides now that we have them, as well as to a recording. So don't worry.
Okay.
They're coming your way. And Armando, I think the last question that just popped up was from my favorite guest always, which is anonymous, saying, we get most out of our new prospects via galas. Are you recommending not to move them to a major donor plan?
Yep, absolutely. Kill your gala. Mátalo. Okay, it's in Spanish. That's like an nautical term for kill it. Galas are, for large institutions, I'm sorry. I ran the American Cancer Society in California. Galas sucked up our major donors and made them give $1,000. And you ask that $1,000 donor to become a much larger donor, it's weird. It's like they're in plexiglass. They're stuck. You can't pull them out. For that, one thing, they're transactional. People don't really learn about your organization. They're expensive. And here's the key thing. Nobody counts staff time. When people say, oh, our gala raised us $1 million. Well, how much did you spend on it? Only $200,000. Well, how much in staff time? Oh, then you get the real number, and it's sad. There's many organizations, and board members love them. Many organizations that continue their gala, even though they're not raising any money with it. Okay, even though it's half the development officer's year, and they're not, but the board just loves it and thinks in their brain, they don't look at the numbers. So anyway, enough of the gala things. All right. Oh, interesting.
And then, I don't know if you want to tackle Rosalind's as a last question.
Montañez. I love that last name. Absolutely happy to help with that. We do in Somos El Poder. We do cover, fundraising and for Puerto Rican nonprofits and Puerto Rican nonprofits here in the U.S. And like I said, I also do searches for development officers and some light consulting as well too. So you can take a look at both of those. Okay, Technical Cause does a gala each year that we do not spend a lot of money on because we have a culinary program that caters it. But do you count staff time? Tiara.
Thank you for all this, Armando. Really, really wonderful. If people want to follow the rest of your work and follow you, what's the best way? I know we are concluding a link to Somos El Poder, but how else can people follow your work?
LinkedIn is fine. My name's pretty, unique. There's not a lot of me's on there. And say hi, email me.
I want to thank you for doing this, and I hope everybody will join me in doing that. We are very sorry to have missed Paul today, but I'm so grateful, Armando, that you could step in. Armando has done other sessions for us in the past. If you're interested in his story, you can also catch it in an episode of the podcast. That's available wherever you like to listen, and it's also available through the website of our sponsor for all these years, DonorSearch, at DonorSearch.net. So check that out when you have time. I know you'll enjoy his stories from the field.
Have a great day, people. Keep up the good work, okay?
And everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you to our sponsor, of course, Evertrue, for letting this all happen every single week. And to Jack, our producer, without whom none of this would be possible. We'll look forward to seeing you all next Wednesday. And do check out the PM podcast, too. Thanks, everybody.